Mr. Randolph, can you hear us? Okay. All right, let's go on the record on page 9, C 250966, State of Nevada versus Thomas Randolph. May the record reflect that Mr. Randolph is present in custody. Mr. Tomczyk and Mr. Oram are here on his behalf. Mr. Hamner is here on behalf of the state. Since the date time set for sentencing, are both parties prepared to go forward?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This was a verdict that was reached by a jury. In light of that, state, you have the right to argue.
Thank you very much. And as I noted, Your Honor, Colleen was listed as a speaker. She wishes not to speak, but she is here today on Zoom listening in.
Okay.
I will keep my remarks fairly brief. As I thought about what I wanted to say today, I don't think there's anything that I can say that compares to the actions of Mr. Randolph in this case. I think his actions echo far louder than anything I could possibly say here today in court. We have now seen that 24 jurors over the course of 2 trials have found him responsible for murdering these 2 people. We have had a chance to see the devastation that Mr. Randolph's actions have inflicted on Sharon's family. I believe we've caught a glimpse of how this has affected his other victim and the Miller family, and how it's affected them. And the reality is, his actions back in 2008 have rippled for year after year after year, and it will continue to do so. When you look at the evidence in this case, it is very clear that Thomas Randolph has premeditated these murders more than most defendants we see in our courtrooms here on these murder cases. He has plotted and thought this out carefully and executed it to the best of his abilities. In this case, on the second trial, the state made a decision to withdraw the death penalty based on his age, but it is our position when you callously calculate and you take away the life of 2 people, you are not entitled to be allowed out of prison, and you should not be entitled to be eligible for parole. With that in mind, we are asking for life without the possibility of parole to be imposed on both murder counts. We are asking that they both be run consecutive. And as to count 1, we're asking for the maximum 4 to 10 year sentence, and that also to be run consecutive. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Randolph, what, if anything, would you like to say before I pronounce sentence against you?
I don't think I have anything to say. You told me my lawyers have to deal with it.
No, I told you you couldn't argue a motion. This is the time for you to speak in regards to your sentencing. That's different.
I think what I would like to do is talk about Sharon. We've never really talked about how wonderful she is. I don't know if that helps, doesn't help. It's been 16 years and I've never heard anybody say that she's good, she's bad, she's indifferent. And this is kind of, I'd like, really I want to accept some Jackie Bluth and David Stanton last time said you're convicted, you're going to die in prison. Give the family some relief. Just confess, take responsibility, be a man. So today I think I do want to take some responsibility on this, in Sharon's death. So that's kind of where I'm going. If you want to hear, then I'd love to say it. And talk about Sharon, how wonderful she was. Sharon she went to Woodstock how much better can it be? She went to Woodstock. She's 5 years older than me. Between the 2 of us, we know every song, every word of every rock and roll song in the world. She's the best cook. She makes fresh baked stuff. Her smile, I don't care if she's had a hangover, if she's mad at me, if she's mad at Colleen, which is most of the time, if she's sick, she'll have that smile in the morning. And once you say, and the media's asked me about this, Max and Law&Crime has asked me, what do you miss, what is about Sharon? and it's that smile. When you see that smile in the morning, your day's gonna be better. It's just all there is to it. But we were very compatible. I knew her probably better than I knew anybody because we talked constantly on the phone. We met on the internet, and me being in Utah, her being in Vegas. So she doesn't eat mayonnaise. I don't eat mayonnaise. That's rare. So I can eat her leftovers or she can eat mine. So it worked out really well. She's a great housekeeper, a great cook. I would rather have her food, her prime rib, than any prime rib anywhere I've eaten. She makes stuff from scratch. She's a great wife. She's a great mother, a great grandmother. That's the sad thing. I know that Nicholas, especially the autistic boy, has to miss her a lot. But and as far as taking responsibility, the truth of the matter is, don't know if she would still be alive. It's been 16 years. But had I don't know, be more of a man, or when Colleen Byer, friends Sharon and Colleen did not get along. I don't care what Colleen says. As a matter of fact, Jackie Bluth, last time we had sentencing, said they don't get along. They're estranged. They do not, it's bad. But she still loves her mother. Still there's some love somewhere. That's how bad it was when Jackie Bluth gets up there and says they do not get along. So the problem in our marriage was Colleen, we talk about, you left Sharon for Lizzie. I never left Sharon for Lizzie. Lizzie's just something to talk to. But I left Colleen. The times I left, it wasn't about leaving Sharon. We had no issues. It was about leaving Colleen. Colleen and Sharon had some real problems. And Sharon probably would still be alive if I would have just been a man back then. And when Colleen, the first time, solicited me to kill her husband. And of course I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. And then when she asked if I know somebody that could do it, and then when Sharon starts talking about it, and that was a real problem.
So, Your Honor, I hate to interrupt this really sound allocution, but is this really allocution at this point?
Mr. Hunter, I'm just giving Mr. Randolph the opportunity to say whatever he feels is necessary in mitigation of his sentence.
Okay.
So she's a wonderful wife, and our relationship, no matter what all these other people say, was very, very good. I was as happy as I've ever been. I was blessed, and again, I've told this to the media, that I was so devastated from losing Francis from the blotched heart surgery. My life was over. I was suicidal. And all of a sudden, God gives me Sharon. And we was just so compatible that it was wonderful. And like I said, the only problem in the marriage was Colleen. And Sharon has this thing, she has this look. And it's just wonderful. She has the look that when you see it, it's one of these things like, well, I really screwed up. And you can tell by her look, it's gonna be, we're gonna have great sex tonight to make up for this. We're gonna do something nice. I'm gonna cook prime rib. What are we doing tonight? We're having prime rib. So I knew she probably maybe gambled too much, is usually what it was. But she had a look one time, and this is when I messed up. She would still be alive. And she told me, she actually told Colleen, she said, if Tommy's not gonna, if he won't help you find a hitman, ask Uncle Mikey. Uncle Mikey, that's how they referred to him. He's part of the family. Ask Uncle Mikey if he'll kill Colleen's husband, Mike. And she did in front of me. And money was exchanged, and that's when I should have just been a man and either left the marriage or I should have just called the police. I've since talked to people about it, but that's the bottom line. Sharon would still be alive. I'd still be able to see that smile. We wouldn't be here right now if I would have been a man and done what I should have done. And at the least, just left the marriage and let them do what they're gonna do. But Sharon was wonderful. She was just, maybe she gambled a little too much, but she put up with my crap. And the only issues that we ever really had is Sharon had she had a dark side because of her husband dying with the cancer, and that was recent. And because of Colleen and her husband, and just didn't get along. So I would be upset, and she could see that I was upset. The lawyers call, we're doing this, the lawsuit over Francis, the medical malpractice, the wrongful death. And I would be upset, and she could tell I was upset. So I need to talk to somebody. Every time before we could even get going, Sharon is boo-hooing, just crying her eyes out. I know how you feel because Colleen did this, Colleen did that, Colleen did this, Colleen did that. And pretty quick, we're not talking about how heartbroken I am because these lawyers are saying, well, you want more money, you want less money over Francis. And I can't talk about how heartbroken I am over Francis with my wife because she gets so upset about how Colleen screwed her over. And that's where Lizzie came into it. She saved my life once before when Francis died, so she's just somebody to talk to. A very expensive psychologist, I guess, somebody to talk to. No sex involved with Lizzie, just strictly somebody to talk to. So, and that's why we went there, is because every time I try to talk to Sharon, or she asks me, talk to me, how you feeling? And I know you're upset, you're heartbroken. We don't even get into the conversation before she's crying, and it always comes back to calling. So, what else can I say? She was just absolutely wonderful, all the way around. One of the best people I've ever met in my life. She went to Woodstock. I mean, for a rock and roll guy like me, that's so wonderful. She would tell me about Woodstock. So, Hillary Clinton with Woodstock. So I don't think they've seen each other. But that's all. We've just not talked about Sharon ever, how much I miss her, how much I loved her. I didn't kill Sharon. Had nothing to do with this. And we'll have another trial when the Supreme Court deals with the stuff that you told me we can't talk about on the record. They're going to talk about it. We'll come back, and then we can talk about how wonderful Sharon is in court with new lawyers. So that's all. I just wanted everybody to know how wonderful Sharon is, how much I miss her, how much I love her. And I didn't kill Sharon. I don't care what anybody else says. We'll deal with it at some point soon. And I want to thank the state for taking the death penalty off, because we can fast track it. I probably won't die in prison this time because of my age.
This time, you're still here today.
I'm talking because I won't be going for 3.5 years. Took 3.5 years last time. I don't think I have 3.5 years left. I'm starting to get dementia. So something's wrong with me. I'm sick, but we'll probably get a little better care in prison. But my point is, we can be back in this court in a year. Well, I don't know if we'll be in this court. We'll be back in somebody's court within a year instead of 4. So I thank them for that, taking the death penalty off. So that's pretty much it. I just, I could talk all day about the pre-sentence report, but I think that's what the lawyers are supposed to do, I believe. So that was all. Just wanted to tell everybody once and for all, I love Sharon. I didn't kill Sharon. She's just wonderful. I miss her. And I know Nicholas has to miss her, the autistic device. So that's it.
Okay. Mr. Chomchak, Mr. Orrin, anything you guys would like to add?
Yes, Judge. I always feel it's a little bit cumulative and almost a little bit silly to try to talk about the facts of the case where you presided over the trial. You heard the evidence, you heard the testimony, you saw the exhibits, and you were here
Hold
when
on just one second, Mr. Randolph says he can't hear.
They're
The
working.
headphones not working?
No, they're working, he just needs to
Mr.
talk.
Johnson, can you, I think your briefcase is in front of the mic.
That's the problem. Okay, all right.
You can go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, that's a commercial.
That's why I said it. So, knowing you, I know you pay attention during trial, and I know you heard the facts, I know there was a lot of briefing in this case, and there's probably nothing I can tell you factually about the case. I have a profound respect for the court and for the jury system, and the jury returned a verdict in this case. What I can tell the court is the recitation of his admiration for Sharon that Mr. Randolph just shared with the court has been consistent with what he shared with me the entire time I've had the opportunity to represent him. The way he spoke of her now is the way he's always spoken of her. And it is important to note that he has always maintained his innocence. I understand the jury's verdict. I understand you have to impose sentence today based upon that verdict. But he has steadfastly maintained that he had nothing to do with the murder of Sharon Randolph. That being said, I think whatever sentence you impose, given the statutory scheme for a first-degree murder conviction in this jurisdiction, I don't think it makes a bit of difference in terms of the overall exposure that he has, because I think whatever sentence you impose, I think he's right. He's also been steadfast in the fact that he believes he's ill and that doesn't have long for this earth. So I think if you give him the minimum sentence and you run those sentences concurrently, that's what we're asking the court to do. I think it's the same for him whether or not you sentence him to life without the possibility of parole or run those sentences consecutively. He does have medical issues. He will receive treatment in custody once he's sent to the Nevada Department of Corrections. But he does want to appeal the decision. He wants the court to know that he does not agree with the verdict, and that's been consistent with everything he's ever discussed through Mr. Warren and I's representation of him. If you look at the PSI, you see that although these are the most serious types of convictions you can have in the instant case, PSI reflects that he's got no other convictions of any type. So when you consider the person that's being sentenced, that's something the court can take into consideration. The law does allow for you to sentence him to the possibility of parole at some point, and I think given his age, given the lack of criminal history as reflected in the PSI, I believe that's the appropriate sentence, and that's what we'd ask you to impose. One thing I would tell the court is the accurate number of credit for time served days is 5,567.
67?
Yes.
Okay.
Through today, I believe the state agrees with that figure.
I was just missing a day. I had 5,566.
You were close. And I'll submit it on that argument, Judge.
All right.
What, the pre-sentence report, I thought they would cover this. It's not very much money, but all this has been paid. They take it, I'm sorry?
For what, the extradition?
All that stuff. I was in prison for almost 4 years. They take out $15, $20, so that's already all been paid. And there's a couple of corrections. I had told Josh and Chris about them. Not that it really matters, but it's back to the same thing we sort of talked about. Honest, I know it's on one of these pages, and I did mark it. Right here. Page 5. The last paragraph, we've talked about this in court. We talked about it in 2017, and they admonished Dino Kelly then. We talked about it in 2023, or actually I talked to Chris and Josh about it, and then I talked to you about it at sentencing. there is no $22,609 life insurance on Sharon through her work. That's just absolutely total ridiculous, and he knows this because he's, like I said, they admonished him in 2017. The insurance was on Francis, just like I told you, trying to fire the attorneys. So it wasn't, nothing to do with Sharon. It was paid out in 2004, and it was paid out to my father. The money went into an account for my stepdaughter, for her college and stuff. So that Boston insurance is not me, has nothing to do with Sharon. And then the next, on the same paragraph, there was $10,000 that was paid to me already. That's not correct either. That insurance, or that $10,000 is actually, and I think I brought this up trying to fire the attorneys, is actually, my mother is the beneficiary. And that again was on Francis. And then when Francis died and I married Sharon, it's a family plan, she became eligible. She signed the change of beneficiary form, as did I. My mother's the beneficiary of that, but Colleen wants every penny of it, so she filed a lawsuit to get that money also. So there's a third lawsuit. So she's suing everybody to get the $10,000. It's sitting in the court's coffer, their account, and Judge Kirsch, is that how you say it?
Kishner?
What is it?
Kishner?
Yeah, it's a lady, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's in her court. The money was put in there through the insurance, just couldn't decide. Because it's to my mother, but then Colleen filed a lawsuit, so that hasn't been paid to me, so.
Well, I'm pretty sure Mr. Orm and Mr. Tomchek didn't raise those because those are not Stockmeyer issues, which are issues for them to raise with the court prior to sentencing from your PSI. All right, Mr. Randolph, the jury, in accordance with the jury's verdict, you are hereby adjudicated guilty of count 1, conspiracy to commit murder, count 2, first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon, and count 3, first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon. It was a very interesting rendition of your facts that you gave here today, but I didn't find that a lot of that time was spent, as you said, taking responsibility. It was spent blaming Colleen and blaming other people. And at the end of the day, 24 jurors have decided this case, and I'm here to impose sentence based on what the jury in 2023 decided. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, you've been adjudicated guilty of those 3 counts. In addition to the $25 administrative assessment fee, the $150 DNA testing fee, the $3 DNA assessment fee, you're going to be ordered to pay $413.48 in extradition fees if that has not previously all been paid. On count 1, you're going to be sentenced to 48 to 120 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count 2, you're going to be sentenced to 20 years to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections, and there's going to be a consecutive 96 to 240 months for the deadly weapon enhancement. Count 2 is ordered to run consecutive to count 1. On count 3, you're going to be sentenced to 20 years to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections. There's going to be a consecutive 96 to 240 months for the deadly weapon enhancement. Count 3 is ordered to run consecutive to count 2. You have 5,567 days credit for time served. That is an aggregate sentence of 720 months to life. Thank you.
Your Honor, Mr. Randolph wants to appeal, obviously, and he wants new counsel, so we were hoping that maybe just because we now realize that when that judgment of conviction comes, the time starts ticking, if we could maybe have 2 weeks, and then we'll contact the Office of Appointed Counsel to see if we can.
So we'll have a status check on the appointment of counsel. Do you want to contact him, or do you want the court to contact him?
It's fine.
I can reach out if you want. Status check in 2 weeks, that date is?
April 18th at 9 a.m.
Okay, I will contact Ms. Bush and let her know, and she'll have somebody here to confirm.
Yes, Your Honor. What was the date again?
April 18th at 9 a.m.
Thank you very much.
Judge Jones, I'm not feeling well today, so we come back in 2 weeks?
For you to get counsel for the appeal.
Okay, and we'll get new lawyers then?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And I didn't catch all the sentence. This is the match you can give me?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.